Deborah. Okay. My name is Marvin Jacobo, and I want to welcome you here to Catalyst. It's our once-a-month gathering to interact, woo-woo, that's right, interact and connect leaders from every sector of our community. And as school's starting up, we know that there's interest, a lot of interest around schools and guidelines, and of course, support. John Torres will be your host back there. He's kind of a woo kind of guy, but we are there. Join us on Zoom or Facebook Live, whatever works for you. So I want to thank you. If you're here in the room, what we'd like you to do is sign in to the sheet in the middle of the table there, just so we know that you're there and we can make sure that we communicate with you. If you're online, we're going to ask that you mute your audio and feel free to use the chat. John is there and will interact with you, and he will be appropriate with his jokes and as he is always. So you are online, welcome and have you here. Thank you for being here with us. If you are a part of this morning's meeting, please click on Facebook and Instagram or Twitter, whatever you're part of, and said, hey, wake up, Catalyst is just starting, and we've got some incredible school leaders online and in the room here, and we need to hear what's going on with our kids. So hope that you will be a part with us, and thank you for being with us. So the purpose of Catalyst is we've been doing this for quite some time, and it is a monthly gathering to create a safe space, a comfortable place for people from all kinds of different sectors, perspectives, backgrounds, thoughts, philosophies to interact. We found in our community, nothing is built and developed unless there's trust and relationship. So this is what Catalyst is for. We want to develop trust and relationship, and with the idea of connecting so that that trust can be built, so that we can collaborate together, so that our city and our county is a good place to grow up in and grow old in for everybody. So that's what Catalyst has been started about. This is what it started, and it will continue to be. Around the table, we're going to move quickly to table discussions. And before we hear from the panel, we do want to spend a few minutes having you connect around your table. And there's a couple of questions here. And what was your favorite season of learning? Was it elementary, middle, high school, and why? So as you were growing up in school, what was your favorite season? And during your favorite season of learning, who were several of the most influential adults in your life? And why were they so influential? Okay, so we're going to give you about 5 minutes around the table. Just connect with each other and be right back. Good to have you all here. Well, listen, thanks. I hope that you went to have some good memory lane as you went back to school. And just share some names. I was at a table, and one of the gentlemen looked at me and said, I don't remember any influences. I said, well, you had some bad ones. So, yeah, he had a whole list of bad ones. Well, listen, launching a new school year, and we're about a week out in Stanislaus County, or maybe 2 weeks. I guess you guys will tell me here in a minute. But we have a panel of local school superintendents, and they will be introduced to you here shortly. Our moderator this morning is Deborah Hendricks, who's become a dear friend, a coach, a mentor. She's starting her own consulting business, if you need a consultant. And so I'll be part of one of her cohorts coming up. Am I not? That's true. So come on up, Deborah, and she will lead our discussion this morning and introduce her friends to her. So please welcome Deborah Hendricks.
I'm going to grab that one.
Okay, I'll take this one.
Good morning, everyone. It's so great to be here this morning. Thank you. We are going to get started, and I will be calling each superintendent up, but as I do, I'll tell you a little bit about them. Shannon Sanford is the superintendent of Stanislaus Union School District, which serves over 3,500 kindergarten through 8th grade students. She has over 31 years of experience in education, with the last 16 years as a superintendent. She has experience in a small school district and also medium school district. She is inspired by the opportunity she has each day to contribute to building a healthy and prosperous future for our community and for all to thrive one student at a time. Welcome, Shannon. We're going to seat you right here. Our next superintendent is Twila Tosh. She's the superintendent of Salida Union School District, which serves over 2,300 students, and she has transitional kindergarten through 8th grade. I'm sure you have transitional as well, I didn't, yes. And she has extensive experience in elements of being a superintendent and has been in education for over 29 years. She believes the possibilities in every student inspires her, and she truly believes that all students will learn at high levels when instruction meets their needs. Thank you for being here, Twila. And now I'd like to invite Dr. Denise Wickham to the stand. She has 31 years of education experience, from beginning as an elementary teacher to her current position as superintendent of Ceres Unified, which enrolls 14,000 students, and she has 20 schools. Denise has a passion for serving students of the Central Valley. Being a product of an immigrant dairy farmer herself, she understands the value of education and providing opportunities for success. Welcome, Denise. Thank you for being here. So, ladies, you're welcome to stand. You're welcome to take a seat, whatever you're most comfortable. And we're going to get started. And we are going to start with Superintendent Sanford. She's going to talk to us about what schools are doing for the 2021-2022 school year to address COVID-19 guidance.
Yes, I must have drawn the short straw, right? Because talking about COVID. Actually, I'm really excited to talk about that topic because it's so important to me to get some correct information out into the community regarding COVID and how schools are responding to it. So the first thing I know that you're all thinking is just tell us what school's going to look like. That's what I know everybody is most interested in. And to be able to do that, I want to back up a little bit to give you some type of understanding of what our guidance is and how we make decisions from that guidance. And so at the federal level, we have CDC guidance. At the state level, we have CDPH guidance. At the local level, we have our local county health guidance. And then on top of that, which a lot of you are in the business world, you know that we have Cal-OSHA guidance. And if that's not enough, this isn't actually guidance so much as it is rules that we live by in our districts. We have our contract language with our labor partners. So you can tell from that description there's a lot of different guidance that we have to refer to when we are making decisions. And right now for us, CDPH guidance is king. And so every decision that we make on our campuses comes from that guidance regarding COVID. And so it does set forth very concrete things for our children in our classroom. And one of the things that it has set forth recently is that all students and staff will wear masks indoors. Masks are optional outside. So a lot of the districts that I have heard from and talked with, those are the things that they are following. There is a misconception, I think, in our community and maybe across the state that school boards set that guidance or make those rules per se. And when it comes to COVID, all of it is going back to CDPH. And so I know that in the news there have been different instances, whether it's, heated conversations at board meetings, that type of thing, asking for those things to be changed. And so people say to themselves logically, why doesn't the board just change it? Most of us have heard from our liability carriers that we would then have an issue with if you willfully do not abide by an order from the California Department of Health, the officer, that we would have an issue with not being covered from anything resulting from that. So that is a major factor in decisions that boards make. Another major factor, and business owners again are familiar with this, is CalOSHA sanctions and fines. So again, a board is constrained with those factors as well. So hopefully those pieces of information clear up a little bit about the decision making and how we move forward. I'm proud to say in this county, our superintendents have really made an effort to come together with the different nuances of each of our districts and how we navigate where we find ourselves at this point and through last year. So that's encouraging. We do meet very regularly. Sometimes we were meeting once a week last year, and this year we've started on meeting every other week. So there's a lot of consistency across all of the districts in the county. So that's exciting, I think, for parents to hear as well. What will school look like? So after we got through all the guidance, and now we're down to the nuts and bolts of in the classroom and when the students and the staff show up, some examples of what districts are doing across the county. Last year there was a lot of stable grouping, single entrances or point of entrance for different, we call them stable groups. Those won't necessarily, a lot of the districts are not doing that this year, some may, but several are not. We're going back to a more regular looking classroom. However, we have layers of protection, one of them being the masking that I talked about a little while ago. Another layer is the hygiene, the hand washing, all of those types of things. The eating outside is another huge layer. If your mask is off, and then bringing in another layer of sitting a little further apart. So those are some general things that you can look for in school. One thing, the biggest thing I forgot to mention is that we're going to school every day. That's huge, and we're in person, so that's huge. That's a wonderful thing. That should have been right at the top of everything, so we're very grateful for that. Let's see, some other factors to this. Funding, we've received a lot of funding, relief funding, to help mitigate. So for PPE equipment or personal protective equipment, we are all outfitted for that across the county. And I know a lot of districts have made huge strides to make sure that everybody has those things. We're also, I think, several districts are attacking learning loss and hiring additional staff to do that, or providing more materials to do that. So a lot of the relief funding is being used for that as well. The one or a couple of things that I worry about for the future, one is that some of the funding ends in a year. Some of the funding ends in 2024. So any staffing that we're adding at this point, we have to look out into the future as to how long can we finance that. A shortage in our workforce at this point is another concern that I have. I know for our district it's been very difficult to fill some of our positions, and I look to, well, what is part of the reasoning for that? Some of it can be that we're all hiring with the money that we do have. And so I'm a little worried about what that looks like in the future for our schools and workforce. So I think
thank you so much, Superintendent Sanford.
And you're keeping me on time, so thank you.
And you know what? We are planning on about a 3 to 5 minute for each superintendent, and then we also want to give you an opportunity for questions in between each speaker with a little bit of time at the end. So do we have any questions from the audience before we move on to Superintendent Tosh?
Good. One final piece of information, since there are no questions. Those of you who have band students, choir students, sports, activities, those types of things, we still don't have guidance from CDPH on those programs. And so here we are, most of us are starting school on Monday. So that gives you another insight into some of the struggles that we face as well and making those programs and sending out parameters and information to parents. That's why maybe it's been silent. We don't know yet. So, thank you.
Thank you so very much. Superintendent Tosh will speak to us what schools are doing for multi-tier system of support. This is for social and emotional and academic needs for all students.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing us to come in just a few minutes to talk about a very few practices that we have going on in our schools. And we are all talkers with our hands, I think, so it's really difficult to speak with a microphone. So I'm going to do my best not to drive you crazy with that. Schools used to be the place, and I think the general perception was that we provided instruction, academic instruction. That's no longer the case. We have such a myriad of services and supports that we need to offer our students to address the whole child need. And so many of our districts within Stanislaus County, and probably throughout the state, have adopted a framework called MTSS. It is a multi-tiered system of support. And underneath that umbrella of services, it's really not a reinvention of anything that we didn't already have practices. We merely use a cohesive approach that allows us to address every child and their myriad of needs that they might have, academic and the social emotional piece. So how do we use that cohesive approach? On districts, we have a pyramid, a tiered system, if you will. And our tier 1, and I'm going to talk about the academic side first, tier 1 supports would look like highly effective, universal core instruction within our classroom, which meets the needs of most of our students. We have a smaller percentage of students that would receive tier 2 interventions, and those tier 2 interventions primarily look like a generalization of small group instruction, one-on-one kinds of intervention, tutoring, maybe some alternate types of curriculum that we're addressing with the students. And then tier 3 would be for that very small population of students. It is a small percentage, and those are the students who need more intensive strategic interventions to meet their academic needs. Primarily, our students are referred through the special education process. We develop an IEP or an individualized education plan for those students to meet those needs. On the opposite side of that tiered pyramid under MTSS are the behavioral, social, emotional supports that we have readily available for our students on our campus. Those supports, again, start with the tiered system. Tier 1 is meant to address the general population of students. And most of the districts within Stanislaus County have school-based counselors available and on our sites. That's our first tier. We do guidance lessons. We work with our staffs to develop a positive behavior intervention supports. PBIS, you might have heard something at one of your children or grandchildren's schools. And those help students to develop strategies, communication skills, so that they are in a positive frame to interact with their peer-to-peer, student to teacher, or teacher to student, setting clear expectations no matter where they are on our campus about what their behaviors should look like, and rewarding those that meet those goals. The second tier are for those students who need that little intensive strategic boost. And that might be small group counseling with our school counselors, or we assign a mentor for check-in and check-out to make sure their day is going well, and or a social contract. And then tier 3, again, is for that very small percentage of students who need really intensive strategies to meet their behavioral and social emotional needs. Many times, those students, again, go through the special education process, and we develop an IEP. It could result in an alternate educational setting, and or we refer out to more intensive services at the Behavioral Health Center or Center for Human Services, Sierra Vista, to name a few. However, we know that research shows that most of our students who have experienced a childhood adverse experience, or the ACEs, have been traumatized. Those traumas are basically a do-over, can be done more readily on a school campus where they feel safe and secure and have some connectedness, as opposed to sending them out for a therapeutic setting wherein many of the traumas can't be addressed because they haven't been able to address their connectedness. They don't feel safe, they don't feel secure. So partnering with our county services and with the influx of cash that we've received from the CARES Act, most districts in Stanislaus County have added additional school counselors, clinicians, and/or partnered with the Center for Human Services to provide that umbrella of supports for our students while they're on our campus. It is easy, a great place to be. Schools offer the best opportunity to streamline all of the services we have in Stanislaus County to address our students' social emotional needs and our families' social emotional needs, while also providing that strong educational academic support that they need. So thank you, and we look forward for you joining us at some point on our campus.
Thank you so very much, Superintendent Tosh. Do we have any questions regarding the multi-tier layers of support?
I was just wondering, do you feel like kids might have any difficulty socializing again since they've been separated so long? Is there any specific plan to help with that?
Absolutely. So we're well aware of the trauma, if you will, that the environmental impact of the pandemic has had on our families and on our students and frankly on our staff. So my approach with that, and I believe all of our districts are in that same mindset, we're using a soft start approach wherein I encourage our teachers just to get to know. So we spend a lot of time when our students returned last year looking at the expectations, walking them through what does good hygiene look like, letting them socialize and get to know each other, and working more on that safety factor so that students' anxieties can be released a little bit. We have lots of mask breaks built into our day on our campuses, and I'm fortunate because I'm a K-8 campuses, so I'm easily able to make those kinds of things happen. So I think we're taking a slow approach. We're talking with kids about what it is if they have questions, and we do have school-based counseling if they need that, as well as with families. So we encourage parents, I know you have to drop your child at the gate, but we're going to take good care of them, and our parents trust that.
Are there any other questions? All right, thank you. So we're going to move on to Dr. Wickham. And Dr. Wickham, I'm going to get my notes here, is going to talk to us about what schools are doing to get kids ready for college and career.
Okay, so what we've thought about when we're talking about college to career is that this path doesn't start for students the minute they enter high school. This is really the path that we hope for all of our kindergarten students all the way through our systems. So systems that feed into our systems, they started these conversations and the academic rigor for students the minute that they entered into our educational systems. When we talk about college to career or college path, it really is about a requirement that are considered A to G courses. And those A to G courses are what gives students that opportunity when they graduate from high school to enter into either a CSU or a UC system. They're pretty rigorous courses, and there are certain requirements, and I'm going to use my cheat notes here because I don't have them all memorized, of what these courses entail that students must have in order to enter into the systems. So, for example, our A to G categories are history and social science. They need 2 years of those. English, they need 4 years of English. Science, 2 years are required, 3 years are recommended. English, or language other than English, 2 years are required and 3 are recommended. And Spanish 2 counts as a second year, even if the student didn't take Spanish 1, and we do have some students that are able to skip that Spanish 1 requirement. Visual and performing arts, there's a year required of that. And a college preparatory elective, which can be in various different electives, 1 year is required. And all students must pass these courses with a C or better. Now, graduation requirements may be a little adjusted. They're not necessarily A to G requirements, don't necessarily equate to the same as graduation requirements. For us, however, all of our students, when they take a math class or they take an English class, they are A to G approved. So that really sets them on that path that should they choose to go into a CSU or UC system following their graduation, they have the requirements met for that. And that's what we want. We want them to have the option to go straight into a four-year college if they choose. So moving on from that, our data for our students that meet all the requirements for A to G are pretty substantial. We have between 50 and 60% of our students that meet those requirements to enter into a CSU or UC system. Now, not all of them necessarily choose to do that, but our goal is that then they have that option if they want to. A couple of other pieces. One, a few years ago, I would say 5 to 6 years ago, we developed a position in our district, and it's called a Transition Learning Director. And what we were finding is that we were building students up, we were preparing students to go into college, but they didn't know how to navigate the system. And I was very similar to that growing up. I met all those requirements, but my parents had no idea, like, what is putting a deposit down for a dorm, and how do you register for college, and what classes should I even take? And truly, the counselors at the colleges are very busy. They have thousands of students entering into their system and can't necessarily provide that individualized attention. So we have a position at each of our high schools, and their main goal is to work with seniors and follow them through their freshman year of college. It has been extremely beneficial to help with those students that have gone to college to prevent the dropout rate, the extensive dropout rate that happens during a student's freshman year. And they go to the campus, they help them figure out where they might live, they help them sign up for, the different food programs, they take field trips to the Fresno State or Stan State or UC Merced and help them navigate and just walk around the campus, because many of them haven't even had that experience. So that Transition Learning Director is a very critical and pivotal position in our district to help keep kids in college once they've attained that goal. On another note, we also have career paths, and we have manufacturing academies, a strong agricultural program at our high schools, and again, the A to G requirements will help students navigate either a career or college in their post-secondary life, and that's what we're really all about. So we have a very strong manufacturing academy. We have several business partners that have partnered with our academy. They include Gallo, G3, and even mentors from the business community that come in and meet with students. They're part of a luncheon, and I was part of this for a while, where there's a luncheon about once a month, and students partner with various business sectors from all over the county, and they're really learning those soft skills. They're really learning how to talk with adults and what's required when you go to a job interview. They do different mock interviewing techniques, and it's really fun, and it's really an active group, because our businesses are very excited to be meeting these high school juniors and seniors, and just to be working with students and our youth. As we mentioned, agriculture is a huge thing in our Central Valley, and I know that there's even programs that begin for the little guys with different opportunities for them to go experience dairy life and the farming communities, and having people come in for that. We have a very strong dual enrollment program with Modesto Junior College, and what that means is that students can earn college credits both for their high school graduation and at the junior college. That partnership has been phenomenal, so that students that have the opportunity to participate in that dual enrollment, they can graduate from high school and already have a semester done of their initial general education requirements completed for Modesto Junior College. And that gives them a big head start for their college life. That was pretty much all of my notes as far as our A to G and where we hope our students all end up in their post-secondary life.
Thank you, Dr. Wickham. Do we have any questions in our audience or on Zoom?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your time. Each one of you guys are unique in the experiences that you're sharing. One question was surrounding catching kids early in the stages of college. I'm noticing in different schools that I've been in part of or interacting with, the counselor is really not involved at an early part of their school year. And so that is really affecting the opportunity for them to understand how this whole process works. I love the fact of the learning director. I say that because when I was in high school and junior high, I didn't even meet my counselor. And so I had no clue of the opportunity of going to school or going to college, even though I had a C average. And so what is something that you all are implementing? I heard about the learning, that's great, but to catch the kids early, to share that opportunity with them. I know that, there's thousands of kids and you can't touch them all. But at what point do you say, let's flip the 50 to 60% to the 40% that is not there and really kind of see how we can work with them?
I think it's multifaceted. Part of it is funding and how much funding that districts can allocate to these learning director or counselor positions. You're right, there are a few counselors for some of the high schools I know in Modesto have thousands of students that they're trying to meet with on a regular basis, see how they're doing in their courses, see if they've completed those requirements. If they're not successful, what kind of multi-tiered system that they can provide for them as far as intervention strategies or different tutoring opportunities after school. There's a lot in that question that you asked, and I think our school board has been very determined to lower the ratios of students, basically students to counselors. We call them learning directors in our district. So our ratios are pretty low. But that means that funds have been allocated from somewhere else and put into those learning director positions. And that's a local decision that's made throughout every school district. And they're different. Their nuances are a little bit different. And I know there's still a large percentage of students that need additional support. They really need someone one-on-one with them right there, and we know that that's not possible. But partnering with parents, having those parent nights, having the parent information nights that are both present and on Zoom and in multiple languages really helps as well, so that parents can also help advocate for what their students need prior to college.
I'll just add just a bit to that. Through Cradle to Career, the initiative within Stanislaus County, I know Stan State and MJC have also allocated and made it a priority to fund positions much like Ceres has that can attach a person and help our students who may not know how to navigate their systems and ensure that they're more successful, not only through their freshman, but through their sophomore year as well. So I know that they have been working to also enhance that and make it a little easier to navigate that whole college system. So we appreciate that as well.
Thanks, Twila.
I have a question here from our listeners online. So how are the districts ensuring all the support systems are talking to one another to ensure consistency in what is being implemented to serve the students in a holistic manner?
Well, I'll try to answer that. I can speak for ours. Again, through Cradle to Career, we've been able to have fortunate conversations, and with our Stanislaus County services that are offered, we've been able to bridge that gap. so that now we're speaking with Center for Human Services, making sure that we can use our brick and mortar to house those clinicians and more intensive services instead of having to refer out all of our students for services outside. The larger the district, the more services it takes to meet those needs. And as we shift and develop those services, it's really through data that we reach out and say, okay, we know this child is falling behind, and it's very easy for me in a smaller K-8 to know my families and to know personally my classrooms and the teachers, and we have regular meetings to address those student needs. And then I go out, and as do all of these superintendents and all of our superintendents in Stanislaus County, basically, and search for what do I need to bring in? Who do I need to bring in to help us with that? And our county services, so behavioral mental health, they've come right alongside with us and have made that process much easier to facilitate getting services started for our families.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that I know in the community as well, we have the outside resources for some districts of Boys and Girls Club, PALS, the city recs, and the way they're wrapping around schools to support the whole child, not only during the school day, but after. And so those are things that I'm seeing that continue to grow, those partnerships. And I really believe the more we can strengthen the partnerships, because schools can't always do everything on their own, so having those outside entities is a great idea. Any other questions? Well, please, yes?
Well, I was going to say, these would be questions really covering any of the topics, or feel free to ask.
Yeah. If there's a burning question that wasn't even brought up in a topic, now we'd love to hear from you.
All right. In the back.
Thank you so much for being here this morning. From a business perspective, I know we have had a difficult time finding staff as a result of all kinds of things. It would be great to be able to have a pool of potential staff to draw from. And so I'm very interested in the business connection, specifically those students that most likely are not going to be going on to a four-year college. Those students that are local that maybe need an hourly wage job. How can we as a business connect with you as superintendents in the school districts?
I'll take that one. You know, those partnerships are formed through the high schools, and I would just recommend reaching out to your local high school, wherever that is, and talk with the site principal. There are many work experience opportunities. I know that Modesto City has a very vibrant work experience program, and they've got individuals dedicated for that in those partnerships. And for us, it's the mentorships really that we encourage our students and our businesses to work with. But that can be a little more individualized and localized depending on your specific need, your area. We do have students that are eager, ready, and willing out there to work. And that's what part of that mentoring program was about. And it's really exciting to see them realizing what it takes to earn a living wage and what they need to do. They can't just leave high school and say, okay, I'm ready to enter the workforce. There's still skills that they need to acquire, some technical skills, those soft skills, maybe academic, different kinds of academies and technical schools that we can help them also get into to support your businesses.
Very good. Oh, I see another question or two.
Okay, let's do one more. We're needing to probably wrap it up.
So what is your population of ESL students, and what opportunities are you seeing to grow there? And I think the last question probably would be, well, integrated and all that. I'm just going to stop there for the sake of time. Yeah.
Sure. Overall, we have a little over 30% of English learner students in our schools, and we have more at the elementary level than we do at our secondary level because they learn English, then they're reclassified, and that's our goal. So we have many employees that speak multiple languages to help students, and we also have a dual language program. We have 2 actual dual language programs that start at the elementary level. They're now moving into our junior high, so those students hopefully will graduate with the seal of biliteracy when they graduate from high school. They need additional supports. Part of those multi-tiered system of supports are there for students through paraprofessionals and through staff that we hire to help accelerate their learning so that they're also ready for their post-secondary life.
Well, please join me in thanking our superintendents for being here. This is probably one of the busiest weeks of the year for them, getting school start on Monday. So thank you so much for being here. So for the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to have you continue with your table talk. And we have 2 questions up here that we'd like you to answer. And what's great about this is we can learn from each other. So I love this opportunity. Thank you.
Well, good morning. I'd like to for those of you who are online and are joining us and have been a part of this great conversation, my name is Wade Patton, and I am working with a City Ministry Network in the capacity of youth empowerment. We're creating an alliance between some of the youth organizations here in Stanislaus County. And this was such a fantastic topic, wasn't it? This is absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. We'd like to say thank you so much to the superintendents. Each one of you have an awesome task before you, and you are definitely in our hearts. If I'm not mistaken, I counted about 19,000 students between all 3 of you. That is crazy. Absolutely crazy, and each one of them is special in their own way. I'd like to say in a couple seconds, we're going to put, for those of you who are on Zoom, we're going to put a Zoom poll, and we'd like you to take about 60 seconds to take that. For those of you who are here, there are little sheets around your table. If you could be so kind as to fill those out for us, that would be great. Just give us a little bit of feedback on this morning. And we can, and as I continue to talk, you can do that. Just real quick, some quick closing thoughts. I heard overwhelmingly this morning, support, support, support from all 3 superintendents. I don't know what you heard, but that's what I heard, and that's what I took away. For one superintendent, I heard support of collaboration of health services to keep our kids and the staff and all peoples safe. I heard support in 3 different tiers of how to deal with behavioral issues as well as academic issues. Support. And then I heard from the last one, I heard there's a support as they continue to move on from high school to college to make sure that they are successful. Support. It makes me think about, how am I going to support them? I think that's the overwhelming question. Last year we had such an insurmountable year with the pandemic. And all of us are going to need some type of support, especially our educators and those who are working with our children. I'd like to challenge you, and I'd also like to welcome you to, as they said, contact your schools and get involved. They need your help. They can't do it all by themselves. Thank you again. Some of the takeaways that you might take away from this morning, I would like to encourage you to share with somebody this week what you've learned. Simply share the simple things that they shared, and then also share by scheduling time together with each other. Maybe there's a person that you didn't know. Maybe if you're on Zoom, you saw a face that you haven't seen in a while. Hey, grab coffee or call them up. Again, that's another form of support. And another way of supporting CMN is that we will gladly take anything that you would like to give in our efforts and our support to continue to do things like this, and also to create networks in the community. The community needs support, and we also as well could use your support as well. Even if it's a simple pat on the back, we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Next month's speaker, we have Congressman Josh Harder, who will be with us and for our September Catalyst. I'm sure he's preparing, and he's got a great speech and some great information for us. We'd like you to invite a friend. Let's fill up this place. Let's fill up the online accesses in the places that we have so that we can continue to be a stronger community. Can I pray for us? And then we'll leave. As our friend Marvin says, Master, you're in control, and you're the greatest support that we have. You brought us through last year. You're going to take us through this year. And God, we just simply ask that we would be thankful and continue to remember that we cannot do it by ourselves. In your blessed name, amen. God bless you this morning. Look forward to seeing you next month.